A good evening. It's a nice evening here in Nakuru, Kenya. And today I want to talk about autism because it's an issue that has been in my heart. It's important to tell you that I have a kid who has autism. And so we have worked with my wife and the others and my other children through this process. And we have a lot to talk about. When a parent is told that his or her kid has autism, it is one of the lowest moments in the life of those parents. It is devastating. In fact, to me, it looked like a jail sentence, especially at a time that we didn't know much about autism. And you know, according to the African culture, we still have superstitions. In fact, I remember one relative asking me, have we cleared paying the dowry? And so, and there are so many things that happen that you could also be well informed, but we can create doubt to a point that you keep asking yourself, could it be this one? Could this be the cause? Because I don't remember experiencing or seeing an autism kid before, but I'm sure they were there, only that we didn't know what it was. So it's a life full of challenges, and one feels lonely. One feels lonely in this life. I remember when our kid came of school going age, and even before that, the doctor we were seeing, it's like he didn't know exactly what it was, because he had to refer, after seeing him for years, 2-3 years I think, he had to refer us to another doctor in Nairobi. That's the doctor who kind of recognized that was autism. So it's also because of lack of awareness. So when Jeff, let me call him by his name, became of school-going age, the first school we took him to, it was this regular school. Within 1 hour, we had been called back to come and pick the kid, our child. We were told that it's not possible for him to run with these other kids because he was making so much noise. And so you can imagine what we felt as parents. The second school that we took Jeff is maybe where we can say we had a good experience. We didn't have a lot of stretch because the headmistress of this school had a grandchild who had autism, and therefore you were dealing with a person who understands what you are going through, and he was very, very helpful. He was following Jeff's progress very closely. But then towards the end of I think the second or the third year there, the second year, end of second year, the person who was in charge of the school, because this was a church school, funded school, and it was also within the church compound. Some teacher complained to the pastor, because the person in charge was a pastor, that Mwalim, that is the headmistress, was taking children who are not normal and therefore making their work very difficult. So the pastor had to kind of ask Mwalim not to introduce or rather to admit more kids of Jeff's nature. So towards the end, you can see what happened. maybe it's an issue of awareness. The third school we took him was a newly established government school. It was a school that was created out of a regular school. And so we thought we were to have a good experience, and it's true. It started well, but like it happens in most of our institutions, there was a lot of corruption involved in the top management. There were like presents that came from abroad that was supposed to be distributed to children. They were never distributed. The teachers were not supported fully with the requirements they wanted. And I remember I was told by one of the teachers that one volunteer had to cancel his stay because he could not stomach the extent of corruption and this behavior of showing total disregard for these kids' education. It was not about what the children were getting, it was about what somebody was getting. So the teachers were complaining, and there is one thing about these schools that I want to say, that in most of these schools, somehow the teachers were coming, like to me, even without me asking. And in some cases they were telling me, I don't think this is the right school for Jeff. Teachers teaching in the same school, because they could see how the management was running the school. So we opted to take Jeff to Nairobi, to a school that we had that was good. And when we went there, they had good teachers. I was very happy. It was an expensive school because I think we were paying 70,000 Kenya shillings. A lot of money. We had to struggle to get that money, but we were willing to do anything to have Jeff, to make sure that Jeff was getting the skills that are necessary for his future life. But then after some times again, the teacher started complaining. The buildings were good, the buses were good, but the support to teachers, the materials that were required, it was a problem. And there were so many programs that were introduced, and from the teachers, it was clearly a scheme just to get money from desperate teachers. So I realized that this was too much, and again, we moved to another school, the fifth school. It was equally started well, but things went bad at the end, somewhere in Kiambu. And again, I realized that now we decided to train Jeff at home. But when we came here, there was another school that started just nearby. And we decided to try. But again, we found that now Jeff had become so big and the kids there were so small. Again, I remember one teacher coming and telling me, I don't think this is the right school for Jeff because the other kids are very small and he's very big. I think he's not getting what he's supposed to be getting. I would suggest you look for another school. So teachers were good, but they were not getting the support that they needed. And so as I'm giving you my situation, I also remember reading about a case in one of the local newspapers here. It was about a parent who had an autistic child. We are talking about between 10 and 15 years ago. And this parent was a single parent somewhere in Machakos. He had other 3 kids. And you know, taking care of an autistic child, is what? Is a full-time job. Is a full-time job. This parent could not stay with this kid because again he had to go and look for food for the family, money he had to go and work so that can get money to feed the family. So what was the solution? He would chain this kid. I remember reading that very well. He would chain this kid in one of the rooms that didn't have a door. He had the wrong chain. This kid would go in and come out, change. And because he was hyperactive and the road was just nearby, he would throw stones to the kids who were passing by, school-going kids, and the innocent kids will return the stones back. And you can be sure one way or the other, these kids, because I know how the autistic kids, they will not avoid the stone. They will just stand and the stone will hit them. And so I believe several times he was hit, and when the mother, this is my imagination, and of course when the mother returned later in the day, I'm sure he will sometimes find a kid breeding. So this is the life of a parent of a kid with autism, and it's a very tough life. And what it calls for is for a lot of support from the community, and this support has been lacking, because whenever you get such a kid, in some countries they will throw such this kind of babies in the forest. In some cases, a mother will abandon the child and just go and disappear. And so there were so many things that were happening, especially in the African culture, again because of this superstition and stigmatization. The government has not been better. It's like it's also not aware of matter autism, and therefore there has not been a lot from the government. According to the World Health Organization, children born with autism comprises of 1% of the world population. So like now in Kenya we are about 50 million people. That means that over half a million kids have autism. And this is a lot that I'm saying nobody is taking seriously about them. Because with these numbers, we should be having a stream for kids with autism, and when I talk about kids with autism, I could also include children with Down syndrome. We should be having a stream in every 5 schools, because if a school has 1,000 students, then we are talking about, is it 10 children in every school have autism. So in like 5 schools we have is it 50? Yes. So in a location where we have quite a number of schools, we should have in one school dedicated to teaching these kids, because again they are not supposed to be so many in a class. This is something that the government should take seriously, so that we are left behind. There are some countries like Ghana that are doing very well. There is a lot of support system. There are organizations to support There are organization, especially one organization that has been even soliciting funds from abroad to support the whole thing. Remember about the United Nations Sustainable Goals. And goal number 3 talks about quality health and well-being. And then there's another one talk about quality education to all. and you can be sure about health, quality health, good health and well-being. It's not, we cannot say our kids we are meeting that standard. If like this mother is going to look for food for the family, without support, you can be sure even the food that kid is eating is not even very good for his good health. Quality education. These children are rejected in normal schools, in regular school, not normal school, regular schools, and therefore that is why most of them are at home, like that kid. In fact, even my kid now is at home because I opted that we try and train him from here. And then there is this goal of ensuring reduced inequality, goal number 10. We cannot say, again, we are doing very well here because, again, if they are not getting good education, if they are not allowed to go to school because of their condition, we are not meeting this. We are even failing to meet there is this convention in the rights of people with abilities, United Nations Convention in the rights of people with disabilities. And this one talks about the rights, ensuring is a legally binding agreement among all countries to ensure that the rights, and these are civil, political, social, cultural, that they are there for all, irrespective of their race, their religion, and their abilities. Again, you can see from already what I have talked about that we are very far from achieving this. And so the question comes, what do we do to make it right? Like I said, we need to establish a school maybe in a location, one school in a location, and establish a stream that will take care of these children. We need to train teachers. We need to train nurses that look after these kids. We need to train even the family members that stay with this kid so that we look at this kid all around. The government needs to monitor closely the education of these kids. It needs to set the standards. It needs to ensure that they are taught the right things, because now it's like everybody is doing whatever they want. In fact, in Kenya, from my experience of schools, if you ask me, if somebody was to come to me and ask me, I recommend to him as a good school for these kids, I will surely say I don't know any. I don't know any. Because my experience it's with Kenyans, it's just like the leaders we have. You have somebody good, but once he gets to the top, things get back. And on this spot, I wish even to ask the President, William Ruto, whom I gave my vote, to take this seriously and maybe even put it under his office of the President, so that these kids can be taken care of in a good manner. We have neglected them for a long time. And one of the things that the education that these kids should get, the government should ensure that they are helping them overcome communication difficulties, help them learn new things, and even learn life skills, and also teach those people living with these kids to cope with the condition of autism. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking everybody, even those people who are in the diaspora, they have seen the experiences here and they have seen how the system works wherever they are. They can bring those systems here and even help us establish schools run by volunteers. I will insist they should be run by volunteers, so that we can have people who are really interested in these kids running these schools. And so the success of ensuring that our kids succeed in learning about communication skills, in learning life skills, they succeed because their families are supporting them. They have been trained to support them wherever they are. They are all going to depend on what we, the community, the government, people in the diaspora, do to ensure these goals are achieved. To put Kenya there, up there at the top, so that other countries can come and learn from us. So I wish we can start having conversation and even soon establish system through maybe an organization to start doing the best we can for these kids. Thank you.